Welcome to Tapping in Part 1, where we start our webinars back at the beginning. If you're joining us today for the first time, welcome to the Two Wise Monkeys workshops. I hope you enjoy today. We will be going over how and why to employ someone with a disability or impairment into your business or your service. So first up, I'm going to do an acknowledgement of country. 30-foot drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia, recognising their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their beliefs and their cultures, both to the elders past and present. Next, I will talk about the funding. 30-foot drop acknowledges the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their help, so many projects such as the Two Wise Monkeys project wouldn't see the light of day, and we'd be much more poorer for it as a community, so we thank them for the funding. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-foot drop as part of a Information, Linkages and Capacity Building grant for 2018 and 2019. I will go over now some housekeeping on how our webinars are run. Unfortunately, we do not have all of the resources to monitor all of the live platforms live. So what that means is if you do have a question for me and you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can't send me a live direct message. But if you do want to send me a live direct message, you can jump onto the link which is just below this video, www.30footdrop.com.au, and you will be able to send me a message. So you can ask anything you like and none are off limits, ask them along the way, and yeah, that's how we do it. So we'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so we ask attendees to try and minimise any distractions. I know that's hard at this current time, but there's quite a lot of information to take in, so the quieter and the more focused you can be, the better. Grab a pen and paper, grab an iPad to take notes. As well, if you talk about any of our workshops, 30-foot drop or the Two Wise Monkeys ones, please tag us and share the information, because the more people that know about what we're doing, the more changes we can make together as a community. And if you know anyone that might be interested, please share the information with them. You can register with each webinar and you can get reminders on when it's coming up. Every webinar is recorded, so if you wanted to go back and rewatch it, you can rewatch it once it's ended. And everything I speak about in the webinars is all available in greater detail on our website. So look under resources and you'll be able to find more detail on everything that we speak about. At the end of the webinar, we do have a quick survey that we would be really grateful for attendees to fill out before they leave. Once again, that's just following that link below this video and hitting the survey button, live button, then survey button. Cool, okay, so let me introduce myself. I am Lisa and I am one of the Two Wise Monkeys. The other monkey is Ben and he is See No Evil. He is the director and the founder of these workshops and 30-foot drop. He had an accident years ago which put him in a wheelchair. So he's seen both sides of the coin, I guess you could say. You know, he's lived as an able body and he's lived in a disabled body. So after his accident, he realised that people just don't know enough. People are not educated enough on how to treat people with disability, how to include them and all those sorts of things. So we are here to educate people so that they are made aware of what it's like for these people with disability and impairment, and also for you to think about getting them into your business and working in your business, and that's what we're all about in the first few webinars. Okay, so the other monkey is Hear No Evil, and that's me. I'm Lisa, and My disability is more of a hidden disability, which many people around the world have. 30 something years ago. I was born 10 weeks early. My mum had toxemia, which is preeclampsia nowadays, so I had to come out. And with premature births, there can be complications, all different kinds of complications. So at the age of 8, my family and I were told that I had dyslexia, so that was a complication that had come about. And teachers were really horrible to me at primary school. It was really awful. They used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks in front of my classmates. I remember one teacher did that and I was just mortified. I could not believe that she was reading out the marks. I don't know what she was trying to achieve, but anyway, I could have died in my seat. So, I'm here to tell you not to give up. It doesn't matter if you're not the most amazing mathematician or speller. I was determined to prove those teachers wrong and be a good person and be who I wanted to be. And I ended up finding at the age of 13 that I was actually good at something. I was good at art and photography and all those sorts of things. So that's where I took my life. I followed my passion. I followed what I was good at. And that's taken me all around the world. I've got an arts diploma. I have a museum framing diploma where I can work with fine art and restoration to preserve artwork, and I just love art. So, if you do suffer from a learning disability or an impairment that's limiting you in certain things in your life, then look for the things that you are good at. Don't let anyone bring you down because you haven't got 80% in maths or whatever. Okay, picture framing, I did need maths, but it actually helped improve my maths. And the more practice you do with these things, it takes us a lot longer, but you will be able to grasp it. So my message is don't give up. Follow your dreams, follow your passions, and don't let anyone bring you down. So when you look at the monkeys, isn't there supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? I'm going to ask you today who you think the third monkey is. You guys. Who is Speak No Evil? You guys are Speak No Evil. And the aim of today's webinar is to turn you into that wise monkey, Speak No Evil. We'll begin on a journey of realizing, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be acknowledged and treated in the same way as everyone else, no matter how we look, how we appear, where we're from, our age, our sexual preference, or our nationality. We all deserve to be treated the same. And if you do want to become that gorgeous Speak No Evil monkey, we do have these t-shirts available on our website. They are so popular, everyone looks at me when I wear mine. I've got a black one, and they're available in black and white from size 5 children's size to 5XL adult size. So if you'd like one of those, jump onto our website and look under the shop. They range from $15 to $25 plus postage. Okay, now let's go over the outline and method of today. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and the opportunities that they represent as employees in your business or service. First up, we will examine and bust some of the common myths around employing someone with an impairment or disability. After our Mythbuster session, we will get down to brass tacks and look at the subsidies which are available when employing someone with a disability or impairment, and how to access them. The final subject, we will be talking about workplace modifications and how to access the funding for those. And to finish off, we will do an open forum session where people can chat about anything they like and none are off limits. So how are we going to cover this? What is our teaching method? Well, here at the Two Wise Monkeys, we believe in open, honest discussion. So that's how we teach. If we can't be open and honest about disability and impairment and about things that are affecting us, then changes aren't going to happen. We need to be open and honest about how things affect us and the changes that we need to be made, that needs to be made. So let's all be open and honest and get into it. You'll notice that there is very little written content on the slides, and that is because we want it to be easy to follow and easy to interact with the screen. There's not too much complex information where you're trying to keep up with the readings, and it's nice and clear. You can visually see it clearly. If you do have a hearing impairment though, and you're finding it hard to hear me, if you jump onto the platform Facebook, turn the sound down, and you will have subtitles. So that's an amazing thing that Facebook have got. It's only very new. But let's hope that other platforms like YouTube and all of that sort of follow suit with the subtitles once the sound is turned down. And I'm sure that they will follow. So yeah, we're all here to interact with each other, and it's nice and easy, and we also don't believe in death by PowerPoint, which is awful. So let's get into it. Next, I will go over some of the terminologies that we need to talk about, because a lot of people get these four words mixed up and think that access and inclusion is the same thing, whereas it's not. Let's first talk about impairment. An impairment is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological and psychological function. In short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my medical diagnosis when I was 8 was mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to participate in something. So for someone like me, too much wording, complex information, and sometimes stylized script can make it hard for people with a learning disability or dyslexia to understand. This then makes it hard for us to get the right information that we need to use your business or service. So this is especially important to know because some people's impairments are hidden, and this, because they are hidden and they're not quite understanding or whatever it is, they are potentially not using your business or service because of those reasons. So you're losing business. If your website, your marketing, your advertising isn't clear and easy to understand, then people like me potentially are going, well, too hard, I'm finding somewhere else. So make it easy, a bit like how our webinars are run. They're nice and easy to understand. If your website is like that, then you're probably going to be pretty safe. Okay, next is the difference between access and inclusion. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and attitudinal, to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and can be assessed by a checklist. So this is, I'm going to go with cafe. You own a cafe, and you're unsure whether your business is accessible. You can jump onto our link below and go to resources, and we have an accessibility checklist. So you can go around and check, yes, my door frames are wide enough for someone in a wheelchair to get through. The door handles are at a level with someone that has a mobility issue or short stature or in a wheelchair to reach up. And we go over a lot more of this in part 3, I think it is. But, there could be things that are in your cafe, your business, that you're just not aware of that aren't accessible. So please get in there and have a look and make sure your business is accessible to every single person. Right, so that's access. Let's go over inclusion. Inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is a process whereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as everyone else. Inclusion is making sure, once again, that every single person, no matter how they appear, where they're from, religion, all of that stuff, is included within your business. So once again, if you have a cafe or restaurant and someone with a wheelchair comes in, they can't get in the front door, and you say to them, look, you can't get in the front door, you have to go through the kitchen. That's not very inclusive, that's not very equal. So make sure that people can get in your front door, have the the ramps and everything in place that every single person can use the same method of travel. It wouldn't be very nice for someone in a wheelchair to be told, oh hey, welcome to our gorgeous restaurant, you're paying a lot of money for it, but you're going to have to go through the kitchen and it's a bit of a mess. Not really very nice, and not nice for the staff either. So those are those words. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask any questions. Just follow the link below, go to live and ask me a question. So next, let's get into the nitty-gritty of today's workshop, and that is employing people with impairment versus myths versus reality. Okay, now we will be talking about 7 myths and realities that exist in today's society around employing someone with a disability or impairment. Now, these myths and realities exist when employing someone. Let's have a look at the myths and realities that exist when employing someone with impairment. These myths aren't just random statements that have been plucked out of the air. They are 7 recurring reasons for not employing people with an impairment or disability, which are from studies all over the world. So these are really interesting, especially if you don't know anything about it. Let's head into it. Myth 1. People with impairment need expensive modifications in order to be a productive employee. Is that true or false? Not everyone needs this. Impairments are like people. Every single one of us is unique, and not everyone with an impairment or disability is going to need modifications. Our advice is to ask any potential employee and find out what they do and don't need. Don't just presume that you're going to know what they're going to need, because not everyone is the same. Not everyone in a wheelchair is going to have the same needs as each other. Ben, my boss, readily admits that adaptations for impairments and disabilities are expensive. Wheelchairs can cost over $20,000. Having a car modified can cost over $50,000. But the thing is, someone like this with the impairment has already got these things and doesn't need more, because they use these things every day. If an employee with an impairment does need a modification though, they are often easy to work with and inexpensive. There is also a good chance that this isn't the first time they've been asked that question, and they will know how to work around it. Finally, if you do require a modification that is expensive, there is funding available, which we will cover later in the session. So this just shows that people with an impairment do not necessarily require expensive adaptations to come and work in your workplace. But the modifications that we will be talking about are available through JobAccess, which is the logo below. Let's head into myth 2. People with impairments are frequently absent from work. True or false? False. This couldn't be further from the truth, and in fact the reality is opposite. According to the Disability Investment Group, A Way Forward, a new disability policy framework for Australia in 2009, stated that 86% of employees with an impairment have the same or superior attendance than any other workers. Interesting. Studies also show that they also have a reduced turnover rate, which means less onboarding costs for you and your business, meaning you will actually be saving money. Why is this the case? Well, the studies show that people who have a disability or impairment have an unemployment rate which is double the rest of society. Crazy. So for people with a disability or impairment, it takes them twice as many job applications and twice as long before they land a job. So that's just horrible. And one of Ben's friends actually applied for 183 job positions before getting a job. Now, that takes patience. And how difficult would that be to be rejected 183 times? My goodness. So due to this difficulty in people getting employed with a disability or impairment, they view this job as a great privilege and not a right, and will go the extra mile to keep that job. So interesting facts there. Myth 3. People with impairment are only suited to unskilled work. Massively untrue. People with impairments and disabilities have a huge range of skills, talents and abilities. The Australian Bureau of Statistics reported that in 2012, 19.9% of working age people with an impairment were employed as professionals. 14.1% worked as clerical or administrative workers. 15.2% worked as technicians or tradies. 11.6% ran their own business, and 33.7% worked from home. And I'm sure that those numbers nowadays are way higher. So they're all out there working and doing their best. So it just shows you don't need to assume people with a disability or impairment can't do what it is you're looking for. And these people are going to do anything to keep their jobs. So please think about employing someone with a disability and impairment. Right, myth 4. My workers' compensation. Oops, I hit the button too fast. My workers' compensation premiums and WHS incidence reports will go up. Ridiculous and not true. Employing someone with an impairment does not affect your premiums. Insurance underwriters look at the incidence history of the workplace and the workers' compensation, not the number of people with an impairment working there. Further to that, studies have shown that employees with an impairment are 6 times less likely to have a WHS incidence and are less likely to lodge a workers' compensation claim, which will lower your business insurance. Amazing. These are from studies all around the world. It is thought that the reason for this can be attributed to the difficulty many people are having with disability or impairment in finding a job. If you find it hard to find employment, you're not going to risk the employment by breaking the rules and cutting corners. You're going to do the right thing because you don't want to apply for 183 jobs again. So we are grateful for these opportunities. Myth 5. People with impairment are less productive employees. True or false? Not true. Studies have shown that when matched with a job that is within people's ability, they are just as productive as any other employee. Coupled with the reduced absenteeism, reduced WHS and workers' compensation, and increased retention makes sense. And people whose productivity is significantly reduced as a result of their impairment or disability, you may like to consider the wage support system. So with the wage support system, eligible people with an impairment can access a reliable process of productivity-based wage assessment to determine fair pay for fair work, which we'll go over a little bit more soon in the session. So that's interesting though, no matter what you choose, no matter the disability or impairment with that person, you're always going to be supported with the job, even if it's with the job subsidy. That person and you are going to be supported. Right, so myth 6. Workers with an impairment will not fit into my workplace. Not true. In most cases, co-worker acceptance comes with awareness and observing that the worker is competent and efficient in their job, regardless of their impairment. People with an impairment make up to 20% of the Australian population, and the likelihood of clients and co-workers having a relative or friend with an impairment or disability is high. Studies show that the employee initiative in hiring people with impairment can have positive bottom line results for both the whole team and increasing staff morale and community recognition as good corporate citizens. In conclusion, your workers are just like anyone else and they need to be given that chance. Myth 7. If they don't work out, I cannot discipline or fire them. A person with impairment is just like anyone else. You must establish clear performance expectations from the start if they are unable or unwilling to do the job. You can then take further action as normal. There are no special laws preventing you from disciplining or terminating an employee who is unable or unwilling to do their job. So, these are the 7 myths. I hope you understood them and they became very interesting to you, because a lot of people just don't realise. And those things that you thought were true but have turned out not to be could have been stopping you from employing someone. So please think about it. If you've realised that, hey, that actually won't happen, or hey, there is actually support, think about employing someone. And if you head over to us tomorrow, we can show you how to do that. Now, next is the subsidies. Let's go over a few subsidies which are available. There's many, many more available, and there's other criteria that also apply on some of these. When employing with an impairment, there are various opportunities depending on the job seeker's profile and role hours. These are designed to offset training and other costs during the initial period of employment. This is an amazing incentive to employers. These subsidies can be released in a lump sum or flexible payment contingent on the award rates being paid, the minimum hours being worked as per agreement, the employee being registered with a disability employment service, which we will go into more tomorrow. But now we will go over these subsidies which are available to you as an employer. These are basic outlines, like I said, and further criteria may apply. Let's get into it. Wage subsidy is number 1. This is $1,500. The requirements are that the employee needs to be registered with a disability employment service provider, which is called a DES provider for short. Candidates will need to average a minimum of 8 hours per week over 13 weeks, with the intention to then go on to 26 weeks. And the payment is still made if the job is to end at 13 weeks. So you will still get paid for the 26 weeks, but if it ends at 13, you'll still get paid for 26. Amazing. And as well with the hours, your employee, it says at least 8 hours a week. You can change it up, so 1 week they could work 16 hours, the next week they could work none, 1 week they could work 5, and so on. So you can work it out and change the hours. It doesn't need to be 8 set hours every week, as long as at the end of it they have worked out to do 8 hours a week, if you get what I mean. And that applies to all of the wage subsidies. Now, wage 2 is wage start. This is $6,000. The requirements are, once again, that they are registered with a DES provider, disability service provider, and this one that they are under 50 years old and have been unemployed and looking for a job for 52 weeks or longer. You'll need to receive an average of 15 hours per week over a 26 weeks period, which is 6 months. And once again, you can chop and change the hours. So 10 1 week, 20 the next week, so it works out. Okay, so that is the wage start, which is $6,000. Next is the restart subsidy. Now we're getting into bigger numbers here. This is $10,000. They need to be, once again, registered with a DES provider, 50 years and older, and unemployed for 52 weeks or longer. They need to receive an average of 20 hours per week over 26 weeks. And once again, they can you can chop and change the hours. 20 hours 1 week, 30 hours the next, none the next, Just do it to suit you and your employee. Now, so that's restart, and let's get to supported wage system. So this one's an interesting one, but it's very beneficial for some employees who are needing it. This particular subsidy is more complicated, but in short revolves around the concept of fair pay for fair work. It allows candidates who cannot perform all the job requirements to receive a productivity-based wage, not to disadvantage the employer financially. An assessment determines the gap between the actual required and standard performance due to the worker's health condition or disability, and the percentage of the hourly rate is then payable. For example, if it's determined that someone is producing 70% of the job requirement, then the relevant award rate is applicable, but only at 70% per hour. So that, of course, is assessed and you work it out together. And I'm not sure if it changes week to week, but it's a good thing to look into if you're worried that you're paying 100% of the wages but someone's only doing 50%. So definitely something to look at. Okay, let's get into the next part, which is what is JobAccess? How do you get in touch? How can employers access these subsidies? Get in touch with your local DES provider, Disability Employment Service, to get started. We'll be discussing what these are and how to work with these in webinar part 2. So that's tomorrow. We're going to go over the Disability Employment Services tomorrow, what they offer and how to get in touch with them and what needs to happen. Next, what is JobAccess? Here we are. JobAccess is the national hub for workplace and employment information for people with disability and impairment, employers and service providers in Australia. This is funded by the Employment Assisted Fund, which is a government-funded service. They offer financial assistance for workplace modifications that assist people with disability and impairment to then gain meaningful employment. Amazing, amazing place. And we're so lucky to have it, because I'm sure there's many countries around the world that don't have anything like this. So we're very lucky in Australia. Okay, next, workplace modifications. So these modifications and subsidies are to help with assistive technologies and services. So they can help with making adjustments to the physical workplace. They could also be used for modifications to vehicles and specialist equipment. You could use them for information and communication devices for your staff. You can use them for an Auslan interpreter. You could use them for services for employees with specific learning disorders or mental health conditions. You can also use them for your whole team to gain awareness on disability and impairment. To gain awareness. So you can do disability awareness training with your whole work place. So everyone involved in your workplace and who works there can become aware of how to approach things and deal with things revolving around people with disability and impairment. You can also get the modifications and the help with doing mental health awareness and first aid training, which are all amazing things for every single person to know. Now, the application process. Most disability employment services will facilitate and arrange any assessments that are required. They know what they are doing and they are really good at their jobs, but you can also do it yourself. So you submit your application to JobAccess. JobAccess assesses your application, and if applicable, JobAccess advises if the workplace needs an assessment, and if you're asking for something big, they will come in and assess it. So if the assessment is not required, workplace purchases and goods will get reimbursed. If no assessment is required, then workplace purchases the goods and services and gets reimbursed by JobAccess. If an assessment is required, they will arrange a specialist to come in and confirm those changes, and then they will go over any questions, and you can get them to look at other things around the business that you might want to look at for changes for the employee coming in. And then workplace purchases the goods and services, and then is reimbursed once again by JobAccess. So I hope that makes sense. If you need anything done, someone will come and assess it. They'll say, yes, you need this, this and this. The workplace then puts the layout costs, and then JobAccess refunds. As far as I'm aware, that's how it works. So that is job applications. So JobAccess applications. So let's look at funding caps now. This is the last bit for today. Funding caps. Physical workplace adjustments and building modifications are capped at $30,000. That is a lot of help. Auslan Level 1 interpreting is for workplace related activities for employees who are deaf or have a hearing impairment, including remote interpreting and real-time captioning. This is capped at $6,000 for every 12-month period. So that's another amazing thing to be funded for. Auslan Level 2 interpreting is for job interviews and related activities such as site visits, completion of tests and information sessions for people who are deaf or have a hearing impairment, and this is uncapped. Auslan Level 3 is to help co-workers receive training and a certificate in Auslan Level 2 to communicate with employees who are deaf or have a hearing impairment, who use Auslan as the main method of communication. This is capped at $855. Disability awareness training. If you employ someone with a disability, you can then apply for funding to hold disability awareness training. This is capped at $1,500 per person with a disability or impairment, and you've got it so every 12 months you can apply to have that training every year. So $1,500 per year to gain disability awareness training, and that's something that Ben and I do. Disability awareness training, we can come to your business or service and run a disability awareness training workshop. So I hope that all makes sense, and those Auslan things and all of that available are amazing. If you've got someone with a hearing impairment within your business and you feel like it would be beneficial, which it would be, to get someone in and teach everyone in your workplace a basic outline of Auslan so that they can all communicate with this person, then that is amazing, and it's funded and it's capped and you've got help there. You're not just left on your own to try and figure things out. There's so much support through JobAccess and through the Disability Employment Services when it comes to employing someone with a disability or impairment. You're always going to have someone to talk to. You're always going to have a consultant with you every single step of the way, all day, every day, even after hours. So you don't need to be worried about taking that chance and if it's scary, it doesn't need to be scary. And the reason why these businesses are around is so that you're not put off in employing someone with a disability or impairment, and nothing should put you off, because everyone deserves to be working. Everyone deserves to make a living for their family, no matter who they are, what their disability, impairment, where they come from, all those things. Everyone deserves to be treated equally. And that is what we're all about here at the Two Wise Monkeys workshops. So that is us for today. Thank you for joining me this morning for the Tapping In Part 1. I hope you enjoyed it and it all made sense. Once I've hit the end button, if you wanted to go over anything again, you can rewatch it. Or if you wanted to look for more resources, jump into the link below and have a look there. So right now, if you have to go, please fill out the survey before you go. Jump into the link, find the survey. But if you do have any questions, I'm going to hit the open forum button, and that gives anyone a chance to send me in any questions that they may have. But if you do have to go, Thanks for joining me, and I will be doing this workshop again at 6 p.m. So if you know anyone that you think might benefit, send them along. Other than that, if you want to join me tomorrow, I am doing Tapping In Part 2 tomorrow at 11 a.m. at 6 p.m. Okay, thanks for joining me, and if you have any questions, please now send them over to me. Okay, doesn't seem to be any questions this morning, so that is fine. I will let you go. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you either tonight or tomorrow for our webinar part 2. If you know anyone that you think will benefit from today's one, please send them along at 6 p.m. WA time. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone, and stay warm. It's quite cold out there today. Cool. Thank you. Bye.